Hello and welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis, and today I'm very grateful, very humble to be joined by Kiera Lea. I was guided to Kiera Lea's work through a friend of mine that sent me her Instagram, and I was like blown away that a 25-year-old has like completely transformed their life, awoken to some very powerful truths, and is a very powerful woman herself. And she's only 25, and I was very, very, very impressed. Sent her an email probably about a week or two ago, and yeah, I'm glad she's not too far away from where I live now, so it's good. And I'm glad she's here. She has a lot of stuff to talk about, so I'm just going to hand it straight over to Kiera. Welcome to my podcast today, Kiera. We've just had a chat for the last hour talking about some really out there stuff, but yeah, I'm very grateful that you're here, and I'm looking forward to this chat today. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it as well. And we'll cover lots of interesting topics.
Yeah, we are. And let's just get straight to the point here. So you're 25. So how did you, I guess, awaken to what's really going on this planet right now? Like what sort of started you off on your journey towards where you are now, actually?
Yeah, well, there's a lot that goes into that. Well, basically, I was kind of always pretty awake to events. My mom was very awake. She was always very alternative in healing modalities and things like that, cooked a lot of our own food, lived in rural Southeast Queensland, so very connected to the earth. And I think that helped a lot, regardless of what I've learned now. I think that just being connected to the earth and, wearing no shoes, being very healthy, and then just like being away from technology as well. Like I didn't have a phone until I was 16 and a half. So things like that definitely helped me. Yeah, I didn't. I remember actually I wanted my first phone and my mom said, okay, well, we'll go halves in it and that can be a Christmas present. And so that was really exciting for me. But I think that helped because I was kind of kept away from a lot of the indoctrination that others received by living in town and being exposed to just subliminal messaging through just every facet of life pretty well. But basically, yeah, I went to a small school. I think I had 20 children there. And then we moved into town when I was in my teenage years because like us kids were old enough, mom could go back to work now. And so I started eating a lot more takeaway. I was living in town. I was drinking fluorinated water for the first time at, 14 years old, what I never had before. And so lo and behold, I started getting sick. I started getting migraines and really bad back pain, and I just didn't know why. And so my mom took me to the GP and he said, oh, it's time to go on birth control because your hormones are imbalanced.
Oh,
and
no.
Yeah. Didn't ask anything about my sleep or any prior health information.
No, I never do.
Just decided that I was to go on birth control. And so intuitively, we filled the script, but intuitively, I just didn't take it. I just knew that it just wasn't the right thing. I just didn't feel like the right answer for me. And for whatever reason, I just never took it, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, so I just lived my life with these headaches and this back pain. And I thought that was completely normal. And I think that most people think that is normal because they've always suffered like that. They've always had these health concerns that it becomes 100%. The new normal. But because I had lived in a time and in a place where that wasn't normal and I never experienced that, for me, it was like, oh, wow, this is illness. Like I'm not well.
Yeah.
And so people might call me a hypochondriac now. Looking back, I call myself a hypochondriac a little bit. But anyway, so that happened. And then I graduated high school and my dad had just passed away as well. And I was a bit unsure of what I wanted to study, but because of my dad's passing, I really wanted to study men's mental health. And so I went on and did a Bachelor of Psychological Science, which was really rewarding. I've learned a lot of skills through that I still use today in my practice now. So no regrets there. But I realized very quickly that talk therapy just wasn't addressing the root cause, and it often made things very worse. And so I didn't want to become a registered psychologist. I was looking for another degree to enroll in. And then I tried out nutrition. The veganism was being pushed really big then, and I could just see the agenda that was being fed down the education system. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, well, what am I going to do then? What am I going to be? What's a job that's, very well paying, it's consistent, and I will never be out of work. And if I can, I would love to help people as well. And so I decided to become a registered nurse, and I enrolled, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. I loved the hands-on clinical experience. It was so fun. I truly felt very satisfied and very happy with the career I had chosen. And then a few years after that, I was in my last year and COVID happened. And then we all know what happened there in Australia. It was get the jab or you can't graduate your degree. And that was really hard for me, being put in that position, because intuitively I knew that abiding with the centralized system and getting the jab was just not right for me. I could just intuitively feel it. I even lined up one day to get it, and my body just felt so ill, and I started vomiting on the side.
Wow.
On the side of the paved walk. Like, my body just completely rejected the idea, and I was having like an anxiety attack, and I just couldn't do it. And so I decided to go against that. And yeah, then I couldn't finish my degree. So that's that. Around this time, I was just moved to Brisbane. So I'd always lived on the Sunshine Coast, always at the beach, always around natural light. And then I got a scholarship at QUT to finish my degree. So I moved there, and I was actually working at the university as well with first year students. And I started getting really, really sick. And so I went from being quite healthy to then having headaches and back pain my whole life up until the age of 21, 22. And then I started getting this vertigo, this fatigue, a constant feeling of dehydration, muscle pain, brain fog. So I'm someone who's thankfully always been very gifted academically. I've always done really well, had kind of a picture perfect memory in a sense. And then when my health declined this much and my grades started to drop as a result of the brain fog and the vertigo and just the ill health in general, poor memory, it really affected my mental health as well, because I was kind of using my grades to validate my own self-worth, I guess, in a way. And now I know differently. But so yeah, my physical health and my mental health were just suffering really, really badly. And I was asking all my university professors in the health space, I was like, what can I do? What diet should I try? And they recommended veganism and this and that and working out inside a gym and all the things. And turns out I found the problem to my health concerns was just due to my environment. I stumbled across that just by a complete accident, really. I was on Instagram and I was complaining about, I think I was asking if anyone knew a good alternative health practitioner in Brisbane. And a good friend of mine now messaged me and he said, what's wrong with your health? And I told him my symptoms and he said, Kiera, it's not your body that's making you sick. It's your environment.
100%.
There's a truck going past.
It's all right. We love this. We have all sorts of things happen on here.
I refuse to do my podcast inside. So
that's all right. We have all sorts of things happen on the Breaking Free podcast, Kiera. Truck going past is one of many things we've had going on, so that's fine. We all good now?
I think it's just got to turn around.
I might pause the recording.
And I guess that's something that I had never really thought about. I mean, things like the water we drink, the light we're around, our disconnection from nature can really affect our health. And I guess that's what had happened to me. I mean, I had tried every modality that was available and I spent thousands of dollars on testing, on acupuncture, which did help. Actually, acupuncture helped me a lot. And now I know why it helped. But because of my poor environment, I kept on going back to the same habits that made me sick in the first place. I tried chiropractic, osteo, and then just really getting connected with my university cohort and asking around, asking my teachers, asking faculty administrators if they knew anything that could help me. And I just was unable to find any answers in the centralized system. And so this was kind of like my last chance of healing, I guess. And so I really listened to what he had said to me. And he said to me, like, you know, you're meant to watch the sunrise. And so I just started watching the sunrise. That was the first thing I did. I had just no glass in between me and the sun. I was just watching it every morning. And then that was enough for me. I started feeling instantly better. I couldn't believe it. Like, I went from having crippling anxiety and being so fatigued and had so much muscle pain that I couldn't even cook myself a meal. I would wake up and cry because I was just in so much pain. It felt like all life had literally been drained from my body. And it was horrible. You ask anyone that knew me at that time, it was really sad. Yeah. And that was enough for me. And so I had finished up at university because I hadn't complied with the mandates. And then I had found, you know, this healing modality that had worked so quickly for me as well. I definitely wasn't healed completely, but it was definitely, you know, a 25% improvement pretty much overnight, which was just insane to think about. No medication, that literally watching sunrise can make you feel so good. And so I packed up all my stuff and I moved back to rural Queensland. And I became a decentralized student of quantum biology and circadian biology.
Wow,
and so
that is unreal.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. A lot of things to unpack with there. Like, For those out there, getting the sunlight's so good for you, especially when it's sunrise or sunset. Like, yeah, big advocate for that. And there's a lot of ripping ones where I'm living now. It's pretty cool. Where we both are, really. It's really awesome up here. Just in terms of your story though, like, yeah, you were going around asking all these people for advice. Well, that's the system. It's like they don't really know anything that's like alternative, because everything alternatives is deemed woo-woo or conspiratorial and whatever. So really really awesome that friend of yours reached out. But obviously when you started going through this journey, I know for me, I lost some friends, especially around the mandate stuff too. But like when you start awakening to different things, did you find like your friendship circle changed too?
Yes and no. I think it definitely changed for the better. But at the start, I guess there was a lot of controversy around the mandates. You know, a lot of family members were like so confused that I was so close. You know, I had plans to buy a house and I had plans to move and do all these things after I graduated, and I had a really good job lined up. And then when they heard that I had decided not to comply, even though 4 months from then I was due to, you know, reach all my goals, they were just very confused. Because I guess that's that mindset that we've been taught to hold on to so strongly, is that you go to school, you go to university, you get a good job, you buy a car, you get in all this debt, you buy a house, you get a job promotion, and you get a better car and a better house, and that's the way you live your life.
That's the program, yeah.
Exactly. And so with, you know, they're lovely people and I understand why they think the way they do, but unfortunately for me, that's just not what life is about. And so I valued my health over that. And so the people that I attracted into my life through changing my mindset as well, because being a nurse, I was very much aligned with pharmaceuticals. Even though some of them didn't sit right with me, I still kind of received that traditional training that this is what you do to heal somebody. And so my mindset, you know, not long beforehand was completely different. And so now that my mindset had changed, I was attracting all these new people with similar mindsets into my reality. So sometimes you have to let go to old connections for better ones to come along.
100%. That's absolutely well said. I love how you're talking about like what you're attracting in. It's almost like an energy vibrational thing, isn't it? Like as soon as you start lifting that up, you start attracting people into your life that are like-minded. It's like I talk about this all the time with like my own podcast when I do my solo ones, videos and stuff. I'm saying it all in like different ways. Love how you just said it's like you attract in a certain frequency of people, and then once you start working on yourself, basically, you can attract in people that are like-minded, and a lot of people our age in society right now, Kiera, are very lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Very lonely, especially if they're awake too.
We're all disconnected and we're all lost. And I mean, when I was young as well, I was kind of had this mindset of, why am I attracting shitty boyfriends? Why am I attracting all this stuff into my life?
Here we go.
And then I realized that it's because I needed to learn a lesson from that. Or I too was resonating on that frequency. That's why I was attracting that circumstance or that person into my life. And so our environment is truly a mirror of ourselves. And so this goes for mental and physical health. You can say, you know, if you're in an environment that's extremely disconnected from nature, that, you know, you're living on the 19th story of a Brisbane apartment, you're surrounded by non-native EMFs, Earth's non-natural frequency, you're drinking fluorinated, chemical-filled water that doesn't come from Mother Nature's streams, you're doing all these things, you're around artificial lighting, this artificial environment is going to make you sick. And it's going to affect your frequency. And then also the people you're around, they also, you know, send signals to our body. You can actually look at the people we're around and say, okay, why are these people in my life? Why am I attracting them in? And more often than not, we love to blame everyone else. But sometimes we really do need to look in the mirror and be like, okay, this environment is a reflection of myself and things that I need to learn, or it's acting as a mirror and it's highlighting aspects of myself that I need to work on.
100%.
And then once you shift through that, it's unbelievable and unimaginable the things you can attract into your life. And so the further you rise, the more your reality rises. And yeah, environment as a mirror. That's just everyone right now can pause this and they can grab a piece of paper and write down all the people that are in their lives and usually see a common theme. And that's maybe something that you need to work on or you need to acknowledge in yourself. I mean, it's not always about getting rid of the darkness. Everyone is light and dark. Everyone is everything. But when you acknowledge that you have something, then you have the power to change your actions and change what you actually put out into the universe.
Wow. I'm speechless.
Sorry,
20,
that was an unexpected little rant.
25 years old. and has that like wisdom and stuff. That is incredible. Like you actually helped me with, that advice rang home to me. So yeah, it's because of what I went through in my journey as well. Yeah, I was really powerful advice there. I reckon that could be like a video we have to make up. I reckon. Just I call what you're saying is spot on, but I say like the universe is a mirror, it mirrors us back to our reality. So it's sort of similar anyway.
Mhm.
But it's like that's the most brutal truth one can learn, though, isn't it? That this is like all on you.
And it's that
And
vast acceptance, like of being like, okay, I'm in charge of my reality. But that is so empowering as well, because the minute that you realize you're not a victim to your reality, you're
correct.
actually in charge of it and you can take control and you can manifest what you want. Like that's an empowering thing, but it's also a weight to wear on your shoulders, because you're like, okay, I actually have to put in the work, the physical work. There's no magic pill to fix my life now through my own actions and the way that I portray and carry myself in this reality.
100%. The way you show up, Yep.
Mhm.
Well said. Did all how I'm trying to work out this question here. It's a really good one. How did all this start for you? Like what forced you to go within? Because for me, I learn all the truths of the world first, learn all of them, and then it's like, well, what are the truths that exist within me?
Mhm.
Like, how did that happen for you? Because obviously that is like so knowledgeable and so much wisdom there. So how did you unpack basically your shit to be like, well, this is what, like, how did that journey of unpacking your shit start?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Yeah, I thought so.
I know why it did. And I'm very, very grateful that this happened. But in life, we often think that things happen to us, but really they're happening for us.
Oh, well said.
And so the world that I'm living in now and the career path that I have as a decentralized healthcare professional, it's something that requires a specific skill set. You want to overcome adversity, you have to have a very strong backbone. You have to stand up for yourself and advocate for people, even when the majority kind of says that it's not the way something should be, and you truly believe that your message is truth. You have to actually have that courage and that strength to stand up against the narrative. And so those are skills that you're not just born with. That's something you have to develop through life. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think for me, I grew up in a family that was not very well off financially. And my dad also suffered with mental health issues. And so I'm not going to say trigger warning because I don't believe in that. I think it actually makes things worse, that saying. But on the day that I graduated high school, my dad actually took his own life. And so for me, that really made me realize that you really have to look within, because you don't want to go your whole life ignoring things, ignoring your own actions, just to one day come to the realization that you have actually created this reality of yourself and created this reality that you're not in alignment with and that you don't want. So much so that you don't want to live in it anymore. And so for me, as a young woman seeing that, I was like, okay, I need to do the work. I need to look within. I need to sort my own self out. I need to really get clear on my morals, my values, my principles, and what I want to do in this world. And then I think when I made that decision, my reality just kind of unfolded on itself. And so everything that I studied, every situation that I was put in really just prepared me for what I'm doing now. And so, I definitely think that, as I said, like resilient strength, self-help skills, these aren't things that you're born with. You have to develop them. And so everything that had happened to me during that time really taught me these things, taught me how to advocate for myself. It taught me strength and courage. And so, yeah, that's why
Wow.
everyone needs to go through what they go through in life, because it's just
100%.
building you for your future.
Thank you
I
so
know
much
that
for
was a
sharing
little
that.
bit deep, but
No, we always go
question.
deep in this podcast. It's just how it is. Like, thank you so much for sharing that.
No, that's okay. My pleasure.
Yeah, it's
At least someone else can listen and they can resonate.
it's about to say that. Yeah, super inspiring. So, like, where would you like to take this from here? Oh, like we've gone like straight to the jugular. So, where would you like to guide this now? Like, this is like your story. So, where would you like to go now?
I don't know. I didn't know that this was going to unfold this way, but it has.
It has for a reason, though.
Yeah. Well, where it's your podcast. You go. You ask whatever question you want.
I tend to sometimes go off on a woo-woo tangent here, but thank you so much for sharing that story. And you know how I was telling you off air about your guiding shining light? Well, I think I got the person wrong. I think it's your father. And that's a
Probably.
beautiful thing. Yeah. And I was sharing that live on air now. It's like, that is a really incredible thing that he's like your shining light. And that is really awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I always look at it like it takes a very strong person to teach you such a lesson.
It does.
And so I'm very thankful. I'm very grateful. I respect him as his own entity. I know that his life was his journey, and his reality was a product of the decisions and the life that he had lived in his 35 years. And that is none to my own. That is his own decision, and it has nothing to do with me. What I can take from that is the strength, the courage, the will, and I can use it to inspire others. I can use it to advocate for the wrongs in the world, and I can choose to try and realign them, so that other children don't have to go through the same thing, and that other dads and moms and families and humans all across the globe are able to do the work, not just mentally, because that's really important, but physically as well. There's so many things in today's environment that's making us sick. The light that we're around constantly, this fake light, it just sends artificial signals to our brain, and it causes hormonal imbalances.
100%.
That's something that's not even spoken about. You go to a healthcare physician and they take it, a good alternative healthcare physician, they will take some lab tests and say, okay, your T3, your T4, your estrogen, they're all wrong. So here's some hormonal supplements that are going to fix that for you, or here's a herb that's going to introduce this into your bloodstream and fix your hormonal imbalance. But what we aren't told is that the light we're around is actually what regulates our hormones. And so just for a little bit of background knowledge from your audience, I know you're quite aware of this, but for the longest time, we think that our body and our brain run on the same time, but that's just not true. Just as I can grab my phone right now and I can say it's 12:18 p.m. on Tuesday, my body doesn't get that message. My body actually receives the time through the blue light in its environment. And so from the sun, we just see illumination, we just see light, but truly this light is made up of a different blend of all these different frequencies and colors, essentially, okay? And so through the day, from sunrise to sunset, this blend of frequencies are constantly changing. And so as they change, they send different signals to our body. I know that's a lot of information to unpack. But so sunrise, when I go out and see the sunrise, which no one really does, that's very high in infrared light. And this infrared light is actually the highest at first light. This is very healing for my body. This expands my energy network in my body. It really just increases the capacity for me to hold energy. It's very healing, and it helps set my circadian rhythm for the day. And so my hormones follow this. As the sunrise progresses and we introduce more blue light into our environment, this stimulates things like pregnenolone to be made, which is our master sex hormone. Then later on in the day, this pregnenolone gets converted into our other fertility hormones. But if you can't make the pregnenolone, you don't get the signaling to make that, where are your fertility hormones coming from? It's just not happening. And so when you learn this, you can kind of understand, and you can kind of follow it back to understand, to realize that if we're inside all day, we wake up and we're not outside until 10 a.m. and we go grab our first coffee, and we're sitting under this artificial blue light all day, which blue light, by the way, increases our cortisol, which increases our stress. Our body is completely disconnected from nature, and it's no wonder we have hormonal imbalances, because we're not giving our body what it needs to regulate our system, the signaling that it needs to create hormones and to balance them properly. And so no pill's going to fix the root cause. It might help, but it's really just not allowing you to achieve optimal health. And often these supplements and these pharmaceuticals, they can cause more problems over time. And so we need to realize, and that's my biggest message as a decentralized healthcare practitioner, is nature is completely decentralized. It treats everyone the exact same. We weren't born into an environment that was designed to make us sick. If you believe in God, you believe that this world was perfectly designed for us, and it's not designed to make us sick. And if you believe in evolution, well, then you know that as we evolved, so did our environment. And so if we have programs that run in us, it makes sense that we rely on a system that is there every single day, the sunrise, the sunset, these frequencies from the sun to regulate our internal system. And I think, yeah, that's just a really big message, realizing that we get sicker the more we change our environment. the more we live indoors, you said off camera before, why do you think the soles of our shoes are called the soul? We're disconnected from the earth, which is our soul.
Correct.
Well, that's kind of terminology, but basically the earth, it does things like reduce our blood pressure. It keeps us healthy, our respiratory system's really running well. We're disconnected from the light around us. We're under all this artificial light. I could just go on, but it really is our disconnection from nature that is making us sicker. And the more we embrace technology and the more we embrace AI, and when more we're on technology, which brings us indoors, I really, truly think that modern disease is just going to continue to rise.
Yeah, 100% spot on. Like everything you just said, like I don't even need to add anything to that apart from the fact that if it wasn't so windy today, I'd be sitting out on the balcony myself outside, but it is super windy at the moment. So really powerful information, really powerful knowledge. Where did you learn all of this? Because you obviously didn't learn it inside this system. Like, is this from within? Is this like wisdom? Where did you learn all of this? Maybe give Dr. Jack Kruse a shout out. Might have been one of the avenues.
There's a reason that I interviewed Dr. Jack Kruse. That's the first episode on my podcast.
We'll put a link to that in the bottom for people to listen to. Yeah. It was an awesome podcast. Listen to it last night.
Thank you. It was a bit hard to hear. I've actually got a tech working on it right now. It's going to be up on YouTube in a better audio quality this afternoon.
Awesome.
Thank Alex for doing that for me. But yeah, he's just a remarkable man, and he really is just like a sounding board for many people who have done the research that has been suppressed in the past. You know, everyone says if it's not science, it's not real. Turns out the science is out there, the peer-reviewed journals are out there, the information is out there. It's just the fact that it's been suppressed and it's not what's chosen to be relayed to the public. So it's just this disconnection between science and the everyday person. And so we're relying on doctors and university teachers who have only studied information that's been put forward and chosen to be put forward as truth. They're passionately conveying this information to us, and so that's all we're learning. When really, if you do your own research and you critically think, this is very important, you can find this information out there and you become decentralized. You can become decentralized in your thinking, and you can just question the narrative. You can do your own research, find out that everything you seek really is out there. And to answer your question, I know that was a bit of a tangent, but so when I was sick, it's actually funny you said I didn't learn this in the centralized system, because when I started learning this, I was talking to a guy I really respected. He was my biology teacher, and I was talking to him about circadian rhythms, and he's like, no, that's not real. That's not a thing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, wow. Wow. And it's sad to realize, you know, and like he could only take me so far in my education, and so I needed to outsource that for myself. But the person who introduced me to quantum biology was Dr. Corey Garnvisi. Thankful so much for that message. But he kind of didn't really introduce me to Dr. Jack Kruse or any of the researchers in the field. I kind of had to, and that's what a good mentor does, I guess. They're like, okay, you need to critically think, you need to go and work out how to source this information on your own, because that's the whole problem, is we're relying as medical students, as individuals, on one person or one system for all of that information. But what if that system's intent wasn't to give you all the information, or they unknowingly would give you the wrong information? Well, then that's really bad. You're up the creek without a paddle, as we say in Australia. So yeah, you need to get your information from multiple sources. And so I started studying, and I think about 6 months later, I found Dr. Jack Kruse. He has a Patreon as well for anyone who wants to learn more. I'm sure we can link it in. In this
100%.
So when I left university, I got kicked out of university for not getting the jab. I became a decentralized student of his. So I joined his Patreon. I bought the books. I bought Going Somewhere by Dr. Andrew Marino, The Fourth Phase of Water by Gerald Pollack, Health and Light, all these books. And I was just studying them. I was writing notes. I was listening to podcasts, interviews. I was looking at journal articles that I couldn't even understand at the time. I was breaking them down, reading them, listening to the Patreon blogs. And so that was 2.5 to 3 years of decentralized study that I did to understand how this truly works, because I didn't want to give misinformation either. Like, I didn't want to just listen to these podcasts and these interviews and be like, yep, I'm just going to take that as fact now, and I'm going to relay this information to my audience. I really wanted to learn the underlying mechanisms and the way that it actually affected our physiology and all these pathways. And so I did that. And yeah, that's how I learned. There's no short answer to that, sorry.
Nah, don't be sorry. It's like you had the passion there and you're like, well, this is not this information that I'm getting from this university, this school, whatever, is like not aligning with me. And you're like, well, there's got to be something else out there. I'm so proud to like, or not proud, is lack of a better term, like happy to hear like a 25-year-old that's like, this doesn't align with me. I'm going to go and do my own research and just like make it happen. That is like super inspiring that a 25-year-old is just not getting that information that's basically lies anyway, to be like, nah, there's something else better out here. It's like, we can all do this. We don't have to rely on the school system, all these systems that are here mainstream for our sources of information, because if you look at it, they're driving you towards the cliff and they're literally going to push you off it. They're programming you to jump off it. It's like, we can turn our back on that, do our own research, surround ourselves with people that are actually doing the work, that are being censored, and there's a reason why they are as well. It's a credit to you for actually going away and just learning, like actual learning though, about how our bodies really work and all this stuff. It's really, really inspiring.
Thank you
For sharing all of that.
It's definitely hard. I mean, when I first started, it was very hard. You had to constantly remind yourself that you're not crazy and you're on the right track. And then when you start to pinpoint things together, you start to look at things a different way. I mean, I opened up my biology textbooks. Mind you, I studied harder, way more. I had more motivation to study than I ever did in university. When you resonate with a message that is so true, it just creates like this motivation in you, and you want to study it because it's truth and you feel the importance of it. It's just, I hope everyone gets to experience a passion like that in their life, because for me, it was the first time ever. And I was just, yeah, so lucky. Wow. But anyways, I went back after learning some of these things. About the mitochondria producing infrared light. For so long, we're taught that the mitochondria's job is just to produce ATP, and ATP is the energy source of our body. But turns out ATP is just a byproduct which we utilize, but the main product of the mitochondria is light, and it's heat, it's deuterium depleted water, which that might go over some people's heads, but that's okay. So and so I opened up this university textbook and I was like, oh, let's see what they've written in here, what they taught me. And I kid you not, in this textbook, it has the picture of the mitochondrial electron transport chain, and it says the output is light. And I never picked up on that ever in university. I studied this page, the Krebs cycle, for so many years, again and again, something that's drilled into us. And so when your mindset changes and you actually critically think, you look at things in a light. You can go back and look at papers you've read or books that you've read before, and you find messages in there and you see things from a different perspective. And for me, I was like, wow, it really was in the book the whole time. I just wasn't in a space of understanding or being receptive to that, because it was different to what was being highlighted by my university lecturers. And so what does that say to us? It means the people that are producing these books, that are doing the deep science, they are aware of how the body actually functions. Maybe not fully, actually definitely not fully, but they are somewhat aware, and they're putting the information out there, but everyone's in their little industries and no one's talking to each other. So they're not talking to the university lecturers. The university lecturers are just deciding how they want it to reach the curriculum that's been given to them. And so they're teaching like that, which isn't what's in the book. It's just whatever they were taught. And so there's just this big disconnection in the information flow. And yeah, it's the same thing like the pharmaceutical companies. So peer-reviewed journal articles, which is where everyone gets their information from, they're these randomized control trials or whatever that are being done, and then they get recreated, and then their data gets published in a journal article that gets published in a medical article, and then that's a reputable source. So if you've ever heard someone say, can I please have a source for information? They're talking about one of these articles, okay? And so who funds these studies, okay? Because you might have 50, you might have 10, 5 people working on these articles, and that's their full-time job, is to research this. And who pays for that? Pharmaceutical companies pay for that. And so why do you think they're doing this research? It's because they want to use it to create a new drug. They want to find a problem, and then they want to create a drug for it to fix it, okay? And so pharmaceutical industries fund this. And so do you think they're going to fund a study that says, oh, grounding actually reduces your blood pressure better than, what's the word I'm thinking of? Better than blood thinners? Do you think that that's going to reduce people's blood pressure more? No, they're not going to fund that, because that's something that's natural, that's in our earth. that we can control. It's free. We can literally go outside and just connect, just take our shoes off, walk along the beach, watch the sunrise. Do you think that those healing modalities are profitable? Well, not unless they block the sun and sell it to you.
Well, they want to do that, don't they? Well, they're trying
Maybe.
to.
But I try not to focus on that too much. So the thing is that the system is designed to be profitable. And so natural healing modalities are not profitable. A healthy customer is the customer. Only sick people are.
It's all about money.
Well, exactly. I hate to say that because I try to be positive and optimistic, and I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, but it is truly follow money, and it's just the way the system is designed. And so I've met, and I'm going to interview several researchers on my podcast that have lost their funding because their evidence that they've chosen to put out does not align with the outcome that the funding source actually wanted that study to achieve. And so then they lose their funding. So they have no job. And I'm sure anyone who's listening to this can put the pieces together around what I just said. But yeah.
I'd already put the pieces together. So I'm sitting here going, well, this all just like makes sense. And it's like, they're not going to fund grounding because if everyone went out and took their shoes off, well, then no one's going to be buying drugs anymore, are they?
Exactly. And everyone says, it can't be that effective. But when you understand and you look at the big picture, we were not born out of our mother with shoes on our feet or clothes 100%. All over us or sunglasses on or sunscreen. We were born to walk barefoot on the ground because we need to maintain that charge. And so when we're disconnected from it for such a long time, we would have been connected all the time, sleeping on the ground, doing all these things, when now we barely ever touch the dirt. If you ask someone who lives in a city, when was the last time your bare feet were on the earth? They'll probably say, oh, yesterday. Oh, wait, no, that earth's actually on the top of my building and it's actually plastic fake grass. No, I have not touched the earth in 6.5 months. And so that's a big problem.
Longer, maybe.
And then you wonder, exactly, when you know that grounding increases the zeta potential of your red blood cells. So they've done studies, and this is science. You can also link it in the bio here. So we need a negative charge, and our cells need to have a negative charge. And when they lose their negative charge, the blood cells start to coagulate. So they start to clump together. And so this causes increased cardiovascular risk, right? But when you are connected to the earth, which has a negative charge, this negative charge increases your own negative charge, and it increases the zeta potential, which is actually just the ability for your red blood cells to push each other away. Negative repels negative. And that's what happens is this zeta potential increases, and then all your blood's flowing smoothly. You don't have coagulated blood. You don't have blood clots. And they saw a 35% increase in zeta potential from just 2 hours of grounding. So imagine if we were connected 24/7 every week, every day.
Like we used to be.
Exactly. We would see such a dramatic decrease in cardiovascular events. There's lots of other reasons why that's increasing, but this is just a good strategy, and it's an alternative to taking blood pressure medication.
100%. But people are so programmed to be like their doctors, like the greatest healer of all time. Like people have a love affair with their doctor. This great respect thing. It's like, well, they're giving you stuff.
And in my opinion, exactly, you need to question. The thing is, if you don't want to critically think and you don't want to take this path, well, then that's fine, because you're in charge of your own life and you can live that life. But just know that there is alternative views out there just waiting for you to explore it. I mean, everyone has the right to live their own reality the way that they want to.
100%.
But if you want to follow that narrative, just know that it's not optimal and it's not going to achieve optimal health. For me, pharmaceuticals allow people to live longer, living an indoor lifestyle. So if you want to live an indoor lifestyle, you want to be on your phone, you don't want to watch the sunrise, you want to stay busy in this modern world, well, that's fine. But just know that when you get sick, because you will, unfortunately, at one way or another, one stage or another, the pharmaceuticals are going to be your option, okay? Because you're not going to have the time to invest in your health. You're going to be too busy. And so
that's
they're
the
really
system.
useful for people. Yeah, they're really useful for people who want to live a blue light indoor life. But if you want to live a natural life out in nature, just know that nature is your medicine, and connecting back
100%.
can fix your health. And I mean, that's the way the world's designed, isn't it? It's like, as I said off camera, it's like you go to school, then it's like before you even graduate, it's like, okay, what university are you going to go to? Then you go to university and you're so busy at university, or you're so busy at med school. and then you graduate and you get a good job, and then you have an internship and you buy a house, and then you have debt, so you have to work all the time, and then you have a family and you need even more money. And so that's the way the system goes. And you're so busy that you don't even look left or right. You're just so focused on the present and just those materialistic needs and that materialistic reality of meeting your everyday needs. And so you don't have the energy or the brain capacity to look into health, to look into critically think about the system or the reality you're brought into, because from the time you're born, you're being told this is the way the world works. And so why would you question anything? You wouldn't.
That's the system. And then people get sick and they want this magical sort of pill to fix them, and the pill's not going to fix them. It's like we're so programmed to not go within and do the hard work on ourselves to heal ourselves. We can all do this stuff. We're not sitting here on our pedestals saying, oh, we're two of these wonderful beings doing this awesome work. It's like, no, like
it's actually really hard.
taken a really long time to get to where we are now. It has for you too. It's like, yeah, we've turned our back on the system. Yeah, absolutely. But it's like we've gone with the patience, the resilience, and the discipline to be like, well, this is going to take time. There's no magic cure. There's no magic fix. It's just going to take time.
And people don't,
and that's the system, Kiera. People don't have time to be like, okay, I need 12 months, 2 years to go on a healing journey, learn what exists within me. Stop taking the medication, stop drinking alcohol, stop smoking vape, stop doing all these things.
And
take back control of their health. They don't want to do that.
I used to feel sorry for people and just say they don't have the time, but like everyone has the time. Like 100%. I'm sorry. I've had to get really stern with this, and it's come from working with clients and making them understand the time that they really do have.
Yeah.
Like while my peers were up on Saturday night drinking and going out, I was in my office studying with my blue light glasses on, of course. But while everyone else is watching Netflix at nighttime, I'm replying to clients, I'm organizing things, I'm organizing podcasts. Like everyone has the time. It's just what do you prioritize? Yes. And turns out when you live a blue light life, that ruins your ability to create dopamine in your own body. So Correct. What does that mean? What does that tell you? Well, it means you're going to have more of an addictive personality. It means you're going to enjoy things like Netflix more. It means your emotions are going to be all over the place. It means it lowers men's testosterone, ruins women's hormone production and fertility. It does all of these things. And so the more you disconnect, you feel like you can't wake up at sunrise. You feel like you don't have the time. You don't have the motivation to even fix your health, because I think that's one of the biggest things as well, is actually restoring someone's hope that they actually can get healthier. Because lots of the time, after someone has been through the centralized system and even the decentralized alternative healthcare system, sometimes they're just as bad as each other. It's just testing, and then it's a pill for every ill, whether that's a pharmaceutical or a herb or a supplement. To me, they're just as bad as each other. And so it's restoring someone's hope. And it's like, well, how do you do that? Well, the more you get them away from this artificial lighting and you get them creating their own dopamine from real dopamine sources that come with being able to wake up at sunrise. Being awake at sunrise releases serotonin in your body. We're naturally addicted to watch the sunrise. That's the way God invented us. And so these little changes, they might be these little mini changes that you make over time. They all compound to have a really big non-linear outcome. And so if you don't know where to start, you feel like you don't have time, you're stuck in these limiting beliefs, these self-sabotaging ways, all you need to do is just watch the sunrise. All you need to do is just spend less 10 minutes on your phone. All you need to do is buy a pair of blue light blocking glasses and block that artificial light. And I promise you, after a month, you're going to be thinking a lot differently than what you are right now. And those little small changes you made, they're going to change your whole life. And then it's not, what can I do? It's like, how far can I go? How far can I take this? What else can I do? What else can I achieve? Holy shit, I can literally do way more than I ever thought possible. And that is a feeling I want everyone to experience, because as a young female, so many of our peers, they have so much potential and they are not aware of it. They're not aware of it at all.
I know.
And my heart hurts for them. So much potential in all of us.
There is. And that's the thing, right? That's the school system. They don't have entrepreneurs coming in and being like, this is how you start your own business. This is how you buy and invest money. It's like, no, we'll just give you resume and cover letters to write, and you can build someone else's dream working in a system. That's the school system to its core. It's like, that's not what we're designed to do. We aren't designed to build someone else's dream. We're designed to build our own. And that's what it's fucking spot on. It's like that's
Yeah, well,
that's the system to its core. We're all building someone else's dream, not building our own. And that's what we're trained in the school system to do, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And you might not know where to go, but just having that intention of I want something different, letting go of
100%.
that inner feeling. And I'm talking about that really deep-rooted feeling. Like for me,
Inner
it was I
child.
really want to be a nurse. I really want to work a 9 to 5. I really want to have that stability. And like that's nursing, having a degree and working in that degree successfully is what's going to allow me to have stability in my life. And that means that I've quote unquote made it. Okay. I've fulfilled the hierarchy. I look good to my peers and my grandparents. Okay.
Yeah, people pleasing.
Letting go of that deep rooted like feeling and notion is what's going to truly allow you to create a different reality. You're not going to get to where you need to be and you want to go if you're still holding on to that belief. You're like, okay, I'm kind of 50% in here, but I'm 50% in here. It's like, no, you need to be 100% in on yourself and the new reality that you're creating for yourself,
100%.
because it's not going to work if you deep down have that feeling that this isn't going to work or this is what actually success looks like. And you might not know what you do. For me, I'm a decentralized healthcare practitioner. That didn't come overnight. When I started, I knew that I was getting healthier, working on my circadian biology, and I knew that I didn't want to be part of the healthcare system anymore. And so I moved from a city. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just studied what I was passionate about. And for some reason, I landed here where I am. And so you don't need to know exactly where you want to end, but you just need to know what you're aiming for. And that like God or nature or your vibration will attract that into your life. Sometimes better than what you can. Sometimes we think we know what we want, but really like we don't know what we want. And then sometimes nature or the world just gives us what we need.
Yes.
And so you might need to get what you need 5 times before you get what you want, because it's fixing you. It's making you work on yourself to get to where you actually want to be. But that process is mandatory. It needs to happen. And I tell you right now that the feeling that you get and the satisfaction and the like tear-jerking feeling of just being so grateful and connected that you will get when you get there is worth all the obstacles that are going to stand in your way, all the work that you're going to do on yourself 100 times over. It's
interesting you say that. It's so powerful and such awesome advice, but people want things now. We're in a society that's like instant gratification. What can I get from the porn today? What can I get from the alcohol today? Like they want things now. It's like fix me, heal me now. It's like is it like impatience? But it's like it's unbelievable how. And I was one of those people that was programmed to want things now. So I know I've been in that box. It's like I'm never going that box again. But it's like we don't necessarily have the patience and the resilience and discipline required to see these things out, because if we're not seeing instant results, people will just give up and quit.
Exactly. And most of us, we're very fortunate to have all our basic needs met our entire life. And so what I was talking about before, that strength, that resilience, that discipline, like you're talking about developing, that's something you have to develop in yourself.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, okay. And then it's the blue light as well that comes into that as well, because if you're not making your own dopamine, you're going to be addicted to things really, really quick, and you're going to rely on external sources like porn, sorry to say, like
don't Netflix, be sorry to say it. I was addicted to porn for a long time. With people.
That's going to become very addictive, and it's going to be hard for you to get out of. But once you do, you'll look back on it and it'll make you feel sick, and you'll be like, oh wow, I can't even believe that was me, or I can't even believe I didn't see this. Because
I had that moment 3 months ago.
When you get your light environment right, you're able to think in ways that you never thought before. And you'll look back at your old self and be like, oh wow, that was so crazy. I can't even believe that I struggled with that. And then while you're doing this, while you're limiting, and I tell people all the time, it's progress over perfection. It's like, don't go cold turkey. Well, do if you want to, but mostly if we don't eat Taco John's or whatever. I just went to America and that was a random fast food place I saw over there, so I don't even know where that came from.
Good advice.
But if you don't eat Taco John's for a week straight, and you don't eat anything for a whole week, and you're just eating like meat and eggs, you're going to relapse, and then you're going to binge eat for 3 days. And that's the same with any other thing. It's the same with trying to be perfect, trying to exercise every single day, all these things. It's slow and steady wins the race. Progress over perfection. Just don't give up.
I give that advice all the time.
Don't give up for a year. Imagine where you'll be in a year.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And so as you're doing this, you're blocking the blue light. That's something really big about. You're working on developing these attributes, these morals within you. this self-discipline, like you just spoke about, that's building up this character. You're building your new character. You're stepping into this higher role, this higher vibration of yourself. And then other things will be a lot easier. Like you said, everyone's like, oh, I just want to feel good now. I want it now. But it's like, that's not a good place to be, because then nothing's of value to you. Your phone breaks, you're like, oh, whatever, I'll just get a new one. Your girlfriend, you cheat on your girlfriend, she breaks up with you. You're like, whatever, I'll just get a new one. But that is not satisfaction. Truly, in the long term, you'll be 60 years old and you'll be really dissatisfied with your life and how it's gone. When you work so hard to get something, you work so hard. And it's just like the schooling system. When you work so hard to get a degree, you will fight for that honor and you will fight for that degree and what's taught you in that degree with like hands and feet, like wholly, because you've worked so hard to get it. Okay. Doctors who have spent 10 years studying in a system, they will defend their degree and their viewpoint till the death of time, because they've worked so hard to get it. When you work so hard on yourself to become the new version of you, that means something to you. You can actually stand as a sovereign individual and be like, I worked really hard to get here now. How can I help other people get there? Or how further can I go? How much further can I go now? And then that means something to you. That world that you've created, that business you've created, doesn't necessarily have to be a business. If you want to, if you love carpentry and you just want to be a carpenter for the rest of your life, that is great. You know, we're sold this idea that we all have to be entrepreneurs, we all have to be these things. When at the end of the day, the world actually needs several different people to function optimally for us to all come together and function as a whole. And so you can be whatever you want, as long as it makes you happy and you're standing 100%. In integrity.
That's really powerful, Kiera, for a 25-year-old to have that much wisdom come out of your mouth. That is super impressive.
Sorry, I'm just kind of just on these little.
I love it. I reckon it's great. We're going to break these up and post them on Instagram. I just wanted to say something too. Like, I had a mentor tell me during my stuff, like, you don't have to just be one thing, you be multiple things. Like that, hearing that changed my life. And I know I just put it in there, but it's like what you just said, you don't have to just be one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're trained to be one thing, be a doctor, be a nurse, be a teacher, It's like, we can be multiple things. Like, we can be a carpenter, or we can be a truck driver and all these things, but we can also be a podcaster. We could be whatever we want, an author, whatever. It's like, it's like going within, like, what are your passions? And quite often,
all of those things, funny.
Quite often, yeah, not a truck driver, but quite often, Kiera, I talk about it too, and I want to get your view on this. There's an inner child in there that had all these passions, that had all these things, but it was taken away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I wanted to be a writer growing up. I wanted to be a writer, right? And I had a school teacher tell me that I couldn't be writing about kicking footies and being the hero, kicking the goal after the siren. I was told not to write about that. I was told to fall in line with everyone else and write about copying stuff off the board and writing information reports. That crushed me as a kid. So I had to go back to that inner version of Nathan and be like, hey, bud, I'm going to show you a new way here. You can write. Your voice is worthy. Your work's worthy. You're worthy. Bang. I wrote my book in 6 weeks. Like, how's that inner child stuff gone for you? Because honestly, healing my inner child has allowed me to tap into that creativity, tap into those ideas and tap into those passions, which I've always had. I just shut them off because of what that teacher told me. How is this for you, the inner child stuff?
Well, firstly, it's amazing to see that you've actually gone through that and now you're living out your childhood dreams. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I know there's a lot of work that goes into that, and I've listened to a bit of your story. So I just want to give you some acknowledgement there. I'm not sure if you would get it as a podcast host very often.
Lots of tears shed, Kiera.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Big journeys. Childhood stuff for me, I mean, for me, and everyone's different. I did lots of meditation, things like that, and then just letting come to me. You know, so many people, they set an intention for meditation. For me, that never felt right. It was kind of like just get into this state, and then whatever came through would just come through. Things.
My brother does that, Kiera. Like, I'm sort of big on the whole setting intentions thing, but my brother's a lot like that. He's your age. He's 25. He's like, I don't want to set intentions. So he just does what you do. Yeah, he just goes with it. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, for people who are new to meditation, unless they feel differently, it is really helpful to set an intention, I find.
Yeah. Yep.
For me as well, a lot of healing just comes subconsciously. Like, I'm not very conscious of it, but I know that things have shifted because then I feel different in myself. And so things like I think that I stored a lot of trauma in my body. So things like my fascia release really helped me. I had really tight areas in my back and in my legs. And when I was releasing those physically, it was kind of aiding in that release of the emotion. We know now that our memories are actually stored in the hydrogen bonds of our water network in our body.
Bang, hit me with
And
science.
Yeah. So the water in our body is held together by hydrogen bonds. Okay. And so these hydrogen bonds is where we actually store memory. And so if you get, for instance, I had a client recently, a little bit off tangent, but we'll come back. She was very ill, and she also suffered with lower back pain. And we know that the lower back is like that sacral area, that sacral chakra area. And so for me, I was like, okay, thinking holistically, I'd never actually really practiced like this before. I'm very clinical in my approach to healing modalities. But for some reason, I just had this feeling to ask her about this certain aspect of her life. And then she kind of let me in on her childhood and some things that had happened. And that chakra definitely correlated to the type of trauma that she went through at a very young age. And so I didn't tell her why we were doing this, but I got her to start doing myofascial release around the area of her back where it was very tight and where that sacral chakra is. So now we've got this correlation between that chakra that is known for, whether you believe in it or not,
I do.
A specific type of trauma, right? We know that memory is held in the hydrogen bonds of our water network, right? So we've got memory potentially being that memory of that trauma that relates to that chakra being held in that hydrogen bonds around that area of her body, okay? And so now we're doing myofascial release and we're releasing that tension. What do you think happened to her when she was doing this?
Transformed.
Big emotional releases. And she expressed to me after, and I didn't tell her why we were doing the myofascial release or the connection between the chakra. She's very clinical, didn't really have much knowledge on alternative methods. She was having a relapse of memories that she had suppressed from her childhood that she couldn't remember.
Wow, yeah.
Regarding that trauma. And so via healing other people, you can kind of think of yourself as well and be like, oh, okay, maybe that happened to me. Not always, but sometimes. And so for me, that was just confirmation of something I'd been thinking of a long time. And it's like, okay, so stiffness in our fascia, in our water network, is actually blocked energy, right? That's what acupuncture works off, reinstating that energy through those meridians in that area. So that tightness is actually stored emotion, is stored memory in the hydrogen bond. So it's the dehydration of that area. So when you're doing myofascial release, you're releasing and you're rehydrating. So you're bringing in fresh water to a stagnant part of the body. And I've seen this now, this was a little while ago, in other clients who they maybe started with left hip pain, and then they've had problems with their kidney, and then they have like chronic ear infections or whatever it may be. And I actually reached out to my friend and I bought this book of the meridians, and that like certain meridians will run through certain parts of the body. Like it might run through your left eye, your bottom lip, and I don't know, your left hip. And so I see all the time illnesses that have been for a long time. Like let's say you did have a problem with your left hip. If it's unresolved, it'll block energy from going through that meridian and then affect other areas of the body that are in relation to that meridian, if that makes sense.
Wow. It's interesting, isn't it? Because people store all these things in their body. Like it's like the pain. Yeah, it's like you let that pain out, well, then you'll get that memory flashback come back. Because I know for me, I had some back pain too, and I went on a table and did like Bowen therapy and that sort of stuff as well. Like I had a really awesome mentor bring up some stuff. Yeah, I resonate with that because it's like when I was on that table, I had all those flashbacks come back too. And now when you start working on yourself though, and you don't get much pain anymore, I just get the flashbacks in like sleep state or in like a dream state, or I could just be going for a walk, working out, right? And I'll get those flashbacks back. And it's like, okay, shit. Because when I started doing this work and that too, like I had all the childhood stuff come up, and then it's like, well, I don't really have much pain anymore. I'm looking after myself. I had the flashbacks of like the women I used to hurt. So I was getting those flashbacks back, and I was like, oh, okay, this is where I need to go now to like.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it?
A journey that you need to take. Yeah. For me, you can do emotional work and you can do all these healing modalities. You can do purely like talk therapy. For me, I found that the physical work, the physical movement of the water through my body definitely helps. So that's an option for people who have wanted to start working on themselves but don't really know where to start. If you've suffered some deep trauma, that's a way to work through it. I'm also a big believer in sometimes you just have to accept what's happened. And I know that's really hard. And I know that certain things should have never happened to you, but it did. And so sometimes we can work on ourselves, we're kind of in this toxic cycle. I feel like the centralized system pushes this constant working on yourself. You need to work on yourself, you're broken. But that mindset, I think, is extremely toxic. We're healed, and we need to, sometimes working on yourself can get a little bit too much, and you need to just accept what's happened. Yes, you do need to work on yourself, and you do need to try different remedies, and you do need to find anything that works for you. But for me, it was like this deep acceptance of, okay, this has happened. What am I going to do about it now? Can I change it? Unfortunately, no, I can't. What can I learn from it? And what can I put in place so this doesn't happen to my future children? Or I can inspire other people to live life differently. So what can I do about it? And sometimes it really is just about going forward.
Yeah.
I mean,
do you see that as like, obviously acceptance, but do you see an element of forgiveness for yourself too?
Yeah, exactly. It is forgiveness. It's like, well, I couldn't do anything,
Yep.
I was just a child.
Yep.
And so I just had to accept that. And you can think about these things over and over, like, what if, but it's what if. You will never, ever know.
Exactly.
And so you just have to accept your path is your path, and then focus on not wasting another day and really embracing the rest of your life to the fullest. That's all you can do. And I know that it's hard to accept that. But you need to get to that place at some point, or else you'll keep on just drugging it around for the rest of your life. And we shouldn't have to live our lives constantly doing intuitive healings, constantly doing bowing therapy, constantly doing all these physical remedies. It's like you can heal in an instant if you want to. It's just whenever you're ready. Whenever you're ready to let go.
Yeah, 100% spot on. That's a really awesome way to probably finish that off. Yeah, whenever you're ready to let go. And I know for me, as soon as I was ready to let go, Pandora's box and the floodgates just opened up. So for me, I had a lot of tears and some stuff. Yeah, it's really, really, hopefully a lot of people feel inspired today to take some action after listening to you today. This was, I knew this was going to be good, but this was super good. Thank you so much for coming on, Kiera. That was really, really awesome. Really insightful. If you got one piece of advice for someone that's our age, that's listened to this, that follows me or follows you, and is like super inspired, but is like not really sure what to do. Like there's so much to do. What would be your advice?
My advice is buy a pair of blue light blockers and use them when you watch TV, when you're on your phone, when you're inside, and wear them. Not the clear ones. You need the yellow ones.
Oh, she's having to go on my computer once. I was waiting for this. Here we go. Yes, I'll get the blue light one. I've already got the blue light one. So you're recommending wear them instead of these? If you're watching on YouTube and Rumble, I've got computer glasses on. Yeah.
They're a little bit not cool, but the yellow blocks like 80, 90 something %, and then the clear ones only block 10%. So it's still that direct access to that blue light coming through, unfortunately.
Oh, no, there's no lights on in here apart from my computer, so it's all good, yeah?
I don't know about that.
Oh, there's no lights on in here apart from the computer, and then I'll shut this down soon and I'll go outside.
I can't give you a pass. I can't give you a pass. I'm sorry. I wish I could, but I wouldn't be helping you.
Well, I've got the blue lights in there, so I'll just go and put them on anyway. And for those that want a pair of blue light, hey?
Don't put the blue lights on.
No, what else would I put on then? Nothing.
Red lights or no lights.
I've got the red lights.
Good job.
Yeah, the red ones. Yeah. So I put them on. But I'm about to go have lunch out in the balcony, out in the sun, so I don't need them anyway.
Nice. Yeah, you don't need them.
For people with advice on the glasses, I have BonCharge. BonCharge sponsor, or not sponsor, but like I got an affiliate program with BonCharge. There's links to that in the bottom to go and get yourself a pair of, well, not these ones I have on, but some red light blocking glasses. So if you want to jump on there, use that. Use the code Nathan22 at the checkout. You get 15% off. So thought I'd just chuck that in there, Kiera.
No worries. Be my guest.
All right. Kiera, thank you so much for jumping on today. You're a wealth of knowledge for only a 25-year-old, and you should be super proud of yourself and super proud of how far you've come. I see some really awesome things happening for you in the future, and you've got a really, really bright future. So I'm looking forward to being a little small part of your journey, hopefully a bigger part, because I feel like I've met you for a reason today. Thank you so much for jumping on and having a chat. I would love to get you back on. We do another one and delve into some other topics, especially for people our age. We can sort of we can do some really cool things. So thank you, Kiera. This has been the Breaking Free podcast. Nathan Francis, your host. Thank you for listening and watching wherever in the world you are. Please reach out anytime. Reach out to Kiera. Reach out to me. We're always here for you. So thank you very much, Kiera.
No worries. Have a great day.
You too.